following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the 9th episode of Sports Chatter TV. I'm your host, Evan Bedell, alongside my co-host here, Steve Atkinson, and we're a show that discusses the 4 major professional sports. And this week we're going to touch on all 4, just, the main topics going on during the summer here. And we're going to start off with the NBA, the NFL, regarding Bill Belichick's comments in association with Aaron Hernandez. Obviously, the Patriots have just started training camp, and yesterday, Wednesday, Belichick came out at a press conference and surprised, I want to say, a lot of people with his human touch, something that we haven't really ever seen from Belichick. Some people consider him a robot. He usually goes along the lines of saying, I don't talk about players that aren't on the team. I only talk about players that are here. So what were your thoughts regarding the press conference that Belichick held?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, as was everybody else. I thought, he was a lot more forthcoming than I had originally thought. And it was kind of strange seeing that side of Bill, almost like a sympathetic, just emotional side of him. Because normally, like you said, he's a robot up there. But it was nice to hear him kind of touch base on the victim and, actually, he only mentioned Hernandez once, but just kind of shed light on it, because I know the media's been nipping at his heels to get him to say anything about it. But, it was nice to hear him kind of own up to it, in a sense, to kind of say, he evaluates any player that comes in and kind of just take a little bit of the responsibility for bringing him to the NFL and just bringing him up to this level. But I think it was great. His whole speech was amazing, and I feel like the Patriots are kind of ahead of the story now, and they can kind of get back to talking about football. And I think, as Bill said, they're a huge part of the community, and they want to be a great pillar in the community.
Yeah, I agree. For the people that were saying, I don't think Belichick's going to say anything. I think he's going to be his usual self at his press conferences, very brief and short. I think they were just completely off base, because I thought Belichick, the Patriots, if you think of them as they're pretty much a company, a corporation.
They're a business, for sure.
If something happens with a corporation, say not a professional team, but, a food restaurant or something along that lines, if something happens, they'll come out and make a statement if it's a big deal, such as this Hernandez story is. So for people to say that Belichick wasn't going to say anything while he's considered the face of the franchise, I think was ludicrous, because, corporations make statements in regards to these types of situations. So, I wasn't that surprised that he came out. I thought he showed a lot of emotion. I thought he would show, some, but not as much as he showed.
Right.
And I thought it, was a great, I think people think more highly of him today than they did yesterday.
Definitely.
Just because he showed an emotional side.
I've personally never seen that side of him. And I totally agree with you. I think it was absolutely necessary to come out with a statement. Because, just to compare it to something else, think about the whole Tyler Sagan fiasco and his infamous tweet. Before he even arrived in Dallas PR had already put out a statement about it. So, we're talking about a possible triple homicide here. You got to make a statement about it, and I think Bill did it perfectly.
Yeah, I think, I agree with you. Like you said, this is a time for them to move forward. It's not in the past per se, but it's definitely not as prevalent as it was. If Belichick hadn't said anything, I think the issue still would have been, a hot topic around that New England community.
Definitely.
I think they can look forward to from here, and I never thought I'd say this, but I hope they start asking some Tebow questions.
Yeah, where's this coming from now?
Get it back to some normal football talk here.
Really? I know you want to hear about Tebow.
No, I do not want to hear about Tebow, but I think I'm looking forward to this Patriots training camp, just NFL training camp in general, ready for the NFL season to get underway here. And speaking of, other NFL teams, the other main story here in this past week was Robert Griffin III. If people don't know, he severe knee injury last season, had to get surgery, so he's been, recovering, and people have been saying he's been surpassing his expectations with flying colors. He's way ahead of schedule, and yet he says he has nothing left to prove, Robert Griffin III, in regards to his recovery, yet the Washington Redskins still say they won't play him in the preseason. I think this is a very smart move by them. I don't think you want to risk any injury with your franchise quarterback and player and face of the franchise. I mean, when you think of Washington Redskins now, you think of Robert Griffin III.
Oh, for sure.
He's a brand.
RG3.
Definitely a brand. You see him on all those Adidas commercials, but I know he's itching to get out there, like I think any competitor would be. What are your thoughts regarding this, Robert Griffin III story?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think, at this day and age, at the stage where the NFL is now, the goal of the player is longevity. And, he's coming back from a gruesome injury. You can't rush anything of that nature, especially, he's still a young kid. He's got a promising career ahead of him. An injury like this, he has to take it slow. As you mentioned, it's a great idea just to not play the preseason. I mean, as long as he's still doing 11-on-11 drills and throwing the ball, he should be fine. And then make a start once the season comes around, and hopefully he'll be good to go. But, I mean, compare it to someone, say, like Derrick Rose, long recovery, but he's been playing it smart, and hopefully he'll be able to come back strong.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, Robert Griffin, as long as he's participating in the drills, going 85, 90%, I think once he straps on the helmet there on Sundays, he'll be ready to go. And
coming back from the honeymoon.
Absolutely. In regards to another player who suffered a pretty severe injury last season, Darrelle Revis obviously got dealt from the New York Jets to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Considered the one, if not the elite cornerback in the league. Revis Island, no one throws it to him. What do you think his impact's going to be this season on the Buccaneers?
I think he is going to be a huge factor for the Bucs. He completely changes everything about their defense. He allows them to go back to their old style of defense, where now they can have the safety kind of cheat on one side a little bit, and he's going to completely cover up the latter, And, this allows Barron to go back into the box for some run defense and, just be a blitzer overall. And, just looking at it, that's exactly how the Jets used him, so it would be smart to just reciprocate what he knows is, his own play style.
If I'm the Buccaneers fans this season, I'm very excited to see what Revis does, but yet I'm a little nervous just because the Buccaneers, I mean, he didn't play last season. They signed him to that big contract without, based on his past experiences. That's a big deal for them. Buccaneers, I'd be a little nervous just because you don't know how his knee's going to hold up. I mean, he's a quarterback. You're turning, swiveling the hips per se.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think he's going to have a huge impact. Shut down corner. You take away half the field for the quarterback.
Yeah.
Then you obviously they run the ball, and so I mean I'm looking forward to it. And then talking about another star defensive player, Denver Broncos linebacker Von Miller, 2011 NFL Rookie of the Year, one of the top defensive stars in the league, gets suspended 4 games. Although the league says it's not, substance abuse, steroid use, still suspended. He said he's going to be appealing it. For me, it's a sad story for me because I'm a big Von Miller fan ever since he came out of Texas A&M. I think he plays with that, highlight ability.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely can make the SportsCenter top 10 plays with his playmaking skills. But I mean, it's sad to see just because you see so many athletes. We'll touch on this with Ryan Braun later.
Right.
They'll come out when a story like this breaks if they get suspended or they get accused of something, steroid use, PD use, whatnot. They'll say, "This is wrong. This isn't true." Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then this Von Miller did this, and then the next day he tells reporters, I don't think I did anything wrong. He's not, again, he's sort of backing off, and then
Right.
he'll probably back off even more saying, I shouldn't have done this. And then the next step will be, I'm putting it behind me. So it's sort of like a process, they
sure.
deny, somewhat deny, say they're sorry, and then move on. And I think it's just, sad for the fans that they don't get the honesty right out of the box.
Definitely. You kind of touched base on all of it. I think at this point he's been out of the spotlight for a little bit. He's kind of going through that cycle, that whole progression of, it's behind me now, this is the past. But I think it's crucial for him to appeal this suspension because if you look at the first 4 games for Denver, they're going up against the Ravens, the Giants, Philadelphia, and the new and improved Raiders. This is a very interesting start to the season, and they're going to need that linebacker there,
I mean, this has been a horrible month per se for the Denver Broncos. Just the team and the general management. Their top 2 personnel executives were suspended, both for DUI arrests, one happening 1 week after another.
Right.
So, I mean, this is just, I feel bad for John Elway, controlling the team up there in the press box, or in the box, and having this come down, and now his star player, Von Miller, could possibly be out for the first 4 games. Not looking good for the Denver Broncos, but, I mean, if you have Peyton Manning, your team can't be that bad.
Wes Welker now. I mean, I'm the same boat. I'm a fan of him. I think he's going to get the suspension waived, and he's going to be able to play because he's an elite pass rusher, 18 sacks and 6 forced fumbles in 2012. So he's a huge asset to the team, and I know the fans want him back.
And just right before we move on to the Major League Baseball, just to touch on Atlanta Falcons quarterback this just broke a couple hours ago, Matt Ryan. He signed the NFL's second most lucrative contract. He signs 5 years for $103.75 million.
Good.
The second most lucrative behind Aaron Rodgers. I know you're a big Matt Ryan fan.
I've been harping about him for weeks now.
Just to run down a couple specifics of his deal. His new deal is $63 million, 3-year payout. That's the most in league history. And the average salary is $20.75 million, which ranks second, like I said, behind the $22 million from Rodgers. I don't think he deserves to be paid as the second highest quarterback in the league. I think he's top 8. If I was the second, I'd say maybe Brady, Manning, or Breeze. But I know you're a big Matt Ryan fan.
I've been harping about him for weeks. My prediction last week was I thought he was going to get a contract of about $107 million. So it wasn't too far off. But I'm glad that he's past Romo at least.
Yeah, I mean, Romo, I don't know how he got that much money, but for Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, the Boston College product.
I've been a huge fan of him ever since, BC Pride.
Yep, so I mean, I'm sure the Eagles fans out there in College Heights are definitely very proud of their product tonight. Definitely has some, spending money here, can buy some new toys for himself.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see with the Falcons. I mean, I think that raises the expectations on him as well as the team. I think if you're next year, it's got to be Super Bowl or bust, per se. I mean, they've reached the playoffs each year in advance, haven't gotten the Super Bowl. So definitely exciting things looking forward for the Falcons.
Sure.
Let's move on to a little Major League Baseball here. The big story this past week, obviously the PED use, Ryan Braun, suspended for the rest of the season. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I understand this whole move. There's been a lot of speculation revolving this whole biogenesis story. I get that baseball's trying to clean up the game. Braun had issues last time, and everyone kind of thought that he got off on a technicality. And I've been defending him this whole time, thinking, oh yeah, it was a mistake. He's clean. But then come to find out, this is my problem with the whole story. He almost takes credit for it. He owns up to this recent scandal and just says, yeah, I'll take the suspension. After berating the drug sample guy and basically ruining the guy's career, dragging him through the mud, and then come to find out he just took the PEDs anyway and has taken the suspension. And he's a future Hall of Famer, and I hate to see it going down like this.
Yeah, I mean,
this is going to define his career now.
Basically, to put it in a nutshell, what you just said, I think we're both, in agreement. He pretty much lied to the fans and the public to their face. He said, he's clean. When he first tested positive and he got thrown out on a technicality, he said he was clean. Nothing. This wasn't possible. Yep. Gave that horse spiel, like I sort of said about Von Miller earlier. Yep. Deny. And then it comes out now. He comes up again, suspended 65 games, and he's like, oh, I guess I'll just take it. I'm still getting paid. I still have an $117 million contract. Yeah. I'm still getting paid all this money.
Oh, no, I'm not going to get paid for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so
where are we now? Almost August.
It sort of raises, sort of a moral and ethical debate in regards to baseball or any sport in general and, performance-enhancing drugs. Is if you're looking at it, you may disagree with me here. If you're looking at it from an objective standpoint, if you're a professional athlete and you're, if you want to, get all this money, would you rather take this performance-enhancing drug to secure yourself, financially but possibly the consequences could be, having your name, thrown in the mud, your reputation scarred, yet you're still earning all this money financially and you'll be secure for the rest of your life. So it's sort of, do I want to take that risk and, take these PEDs and be financially secure and not take them and sort of, be toiling away in the AAA or, minor leagues? So it's sort of, would you rather take them and face the consequences yet be financially secure, or not take them and not be, financially up there, yet your reputation will still be intact?
Well, what's your opinion on it?
I mean,
And then
if it was me,
suggestion.
I wouldn't do it just because I
right.
couldn't live with people, belittling my name and my reputation and whatnot. Although I can see, you can sort of see, if you look at it objectively, you can sort of see, Braun or someone else or any athlete being like, I want to get this money and be financially secure for the rest of my life. So I'm going to take this, and I don't really care if people, drag me through the mud, or if I drag other people through the mud.
Right. I think, personally, what motivates players to take the PEDs is, you see bad players go from bad to good, good players go good to great, and great players go great to, Hall of Fame legacy. And I think that they take the PEDs just to get themselves over the hump to be, just for that, that reputation alone, just to be a huge home run hitter or an amazing fielder. And in Braun's case especially, too, here. But in my opinion, if I'm a baseball player, I'm not going to take the PEDs because I believe in the integrity of the game and, think about the past greats who did it all on pure skill. And I think it's all about the reputation with your fan base alone. I mean, look at a guy like being a Red Sox fan. Growing up, I loved Nomar Garciaparra. Not the greatest player in the world, decent shortstop, great bat, but never took PEDs. He's not going to be a legacy, but still a great player, and the fans love him.
Yeah. So I mean, it's sort of, are you willing to take the risk and possibly get caught, or are you not willing to take the risk and maybe not even make the major leagues? Maybe maybe if you're in the AAA right now and you've been there for 5 years, you're like, I don't want to play in the AAA. I want to make the big leagues. I'll take some PEDs, possibly make it, but possibly get caught and, be banished from the league forever. So, I mean, it's sort of an interesting debate. I mean, I've heard both sides of the argument. I mean, I can see both viewpoints, but personally, I wouldn't do it if it was me.
I wouldn't either, but I get the rationale behind it because, I mean, like you said, if you're a 27-year-old and you still haven't made it into the bigs yet, your career's on its way out. And I think at this day and age, with PEDs, I think it's low risk, high reward. Because, I mean, we're just hearing about this whole biogenesis thing now. And, this is the steroid era right now for baseball. And everyone's saying, oh, this is the cleanest it's ever been. But then you have a story like this come out, and it's all huge stars, like A-Rod and Ryan Braun and who else? Johnny Peralta. I mean, huge names. So these guys have just been getting away with it. And I think there's nothing deterring them from continuing to do it.
I mean, the PEDs, just, to finish off the value, the PEDs nowadays are so advanced. I mean, they're probably cream, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the needle and, the arm or whatever that you think of before when you just get huge, like, like a Barry Bonds per se, who just blows up in size and whatnot. But in regards to, in association, per se, with Ryan Braun, Matt Kemp, the star Dodgers outfielder, in 2011, he finished runner-up to Ryan Braun in the 2011 National League MVP award. Obviously, Ryan Braun won.
Yeah.
And Matt Kemp comes out and says, I think Ryan Braun should lose that award, and I'm 100% in agreement with him.
You think so?
Just because Braun was on performance-enhancing drugs, which, isn't a fair race if Matt Kemp's not on performance-enhancing drugs. What are your thoughts on that?
I gotta disagree.
Okay.
To be honest, I think he should keep the title, but I think as of right now, he's been so publicly shamed. He doesn't need this on top of it, and I think once you start taking titles away from guys, you're opening up Pandora's box, and you could go back 20 years and just start taking titles away from guys. I mean, let's go back all the way to the Jose Canseco era and take it away from him and give it to the runner-up. But then you run into the trouble of, oh, look at the runner-up. Maybe he was on steroids or performance-enhancing drugs as well. So do you still give it to him? And I think it just, Pandora doesn't go back into the box. I think it'd just be a mistake to take the title away from him, because I think he's gone through enough already.
I mean, I don't really feel bad if they drag him through more stuff. I mean, he sort of brought it on himself, especially.
I'm not denying that,
I don't
for sure.
Yeah,
for
I don't
sure.
think people are on his side at this point after
No.
he lies to them to their face. I mean, he was definitely convincing. I mean, he
Like I
convinced.
said, I believe him.
Yeah,
First
he
time I
convinced
thought
me
it was
as
a
well.
technicality.
So I mean, that's PD use, another player that's has been brought up for years, and supposedly the evidence that they had against Braun, the evidence against this player, Alex Rodriguez, is mountains compared to Braun's,
Right.
pea-sized evidence they had against him. I mean, we can talk about PDUs for A-Rod, but another thing that's going on with Alex Rodriguez right now is, he's trying to come back from an injury, and he's been working his way up, and he thought, like we said last week, A-Rod was supposed to come back this Monday, supposedly rejoin the Yankees, and the Yankees are still saying that he's injured. So A-Rod goes out and gets an opinion from his second doctor who says, no, Alex Rodriguez isn't injured. The Yankees aren't just letting him play.
I think that this is going to be the start of a huge media storm right now, just because I think the fact of the matter is the Yankees don't want Alex Rodriguez to come back and play, because when he was playing, he stunk.
Why would you? The media circus surrounding him is absurd. I mean,
that alone, on top of his poor performance in the field,
the
bat.
The Yankees are saying that they're going to discipline him over this, getting this opinion from the second doctor, maybe a fine. That's most likely be my guess.
Right.
I think they just want to cut ties at this point.
I think they're actually really looking forward to this whole biogenesis scandal, because it's going to force A-Rod out of their team.
I mean, that's the reason I think they're holding him out and they're not allowing him to play, is because they're waiting for this to come out so he gets suspended and they don't have to, deal with it and maybe void some things on his contract or whatnot.
I think it's just, the whole thing is just ridiculous, because, I mean, looking back on it, he hasn't played a game since last October, his supposed injury, but then he doesn't get surgery until January. He hasn't even played, and now he's coming back saying, oh, by the way, I'm good to go, in the middle of this whole scandal. And I really don't blame the Yankees here, and I think they're ready to just cut ties.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame at all for cutting ties. And going to the Yankees, arch rival here, the Boston Red Sox, the news this week, Dusty Pedroia here signs an 8-year contract,
Muddy chicken.
$110 million. To me, I think it's right around, where he deserves to be paid. I think overpaid, a little bit, for considering he's not a power slugger per se. Usually with the big contracts, you get someone who's hitting, averaging 30 home runs a season. Pedroia is, maybe 15, 20, around that range.
Right.
But I think you have to account for Pedroia here, the intangibles, leadership.
For sure.
Plays through injury, his position, Gold Glover at his position. Again, like I said, the leader of the team. So, I think he deserved it. Like I said, maybe a little bit overpaid, but I'd rather, overpay than underpay or not even pay him at all and him possibly leaving.
I definitely agree with you. I mean, I think the huge part of this contract was his intangible qualities. But, I mean, just going through his resume alone, we drafted him in 2004. He's a World Series winner. He was Rookie of the Year, Golden Glove winner. I mean, but that being said, I still think this contract is way too high. It puts him on par with the other second baseman. This is a huge second baseman era right now, looking at guys like, Cano or Chase Utley or Dan Uggla as well, getting these huge contracts. But I like to think about it, compare it to talking about the Yankees. Look at Derek Jeter. I mean, Jeter, back in his heyday, he was making sub-20 annually, and, he was younger than Pedroia when he got his big contract. He was getting $19 million. But still, like you said, I think it's Pedroia's qualities that go into this. You knew the contract was coming. It had to happen. And, I mean, the team loves him. The fans love him. I mean, mid-press conference, David Ortiz gets up, walks over, picks up second base, and hands it to Dustin Pedroia.
Yeah, I mean,
they love him.
For Pedroia, if you're a player in the league, specifically Robinson Cano of the Yankees, they're ecstatic with this Pedroia contract because he's up for free agency this summer. And, I think it's fair to say Cano is considered to be the better second baseman, the better player.
Overall, there's no debate.
The better player than Pedroia. So this just inflates the price that Cano can ask for and probably will get. I mean, Pedroia.
He'll probably be the highest paid out of any second baseman.
I think Pedroia is like 13 or 14 million a year, around that range. I think Cano is probably going to be asking for 19, 20 million a year.
He's going to want
a lot of money. So I think he's ecstatic with this Pedroia signing. Like you said, Pedroia, I think he wants to stay here for his career. I
think he will be. Now this contract will have him until he's 37.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be old, but, I love him. I'm a big fan of him. I mean, like Terry Francona said, if I had 9 Dustins on the field, we'd win every game.
Yeah, so, I mean, you definitely got to be excited and happy that he's locked up if you're a Red Sox fan here. So let's move on to a little, NBA talk. The big story for me, I definitely want to talk about this because I was pretty heated about this. One, because it involved LeBron James.
Right.
And 2, this involved Team USA. So in conclusion, LeBron James says in 2014 he will not play for Team USA in the Olympics and in the World Championships, and that he will probably never play for them again. And I think that is just unreal. If you get asked to play for your country, that's an honor.
It is an honor.
It's an honor.
You're
not playing for anything but pride, representing your country. And just to be like, no, I don't want to play for them, where thousands of other players would be dying to play for Team USA, who've dreamed growing up playing for Team USA. And just because you're the best player in the NBA, the best player in the world, and you're LeBron James, and you've played for them, 3 previous times, no, I don't want to play for them anymore. I think it's just a huge, diss to the Team USA basketball, his teammates on that team, and just, the dishonor sort of, per se.
I mean, do I go as far as to say it's almost a slap in the face to America?
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I mean, it really feels that way. I mean, like Herb Brooks said, the name on the front is a lot more important than the one in the back. I feel like this is such a pompous move to just say, oh, you know what? Like I've done that. I've done the Olympics, Team USA. I don't really want to do it anymore. I think it's so selfish because there's so many players who would jump at that opportunity just to be able to put that jersey on, and he's kind of like, I'm over it. I've been there. I mean, and this will, if he doesn't continue to play, will be a defining moment for me as to why he will never compare to Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, he says he doesn't want to play because he wants to spend time with his family, rest, and he's getting a little bit older.
Next Olympics will be, 31?
Yeah, so, I mean, it'll be 2014, so, I mean, I can't really see his point of view. I was going to say I could, but I really can't.
Don't see the other side.
It's just, I mean, if you get asked to play, you play, unless you're severely injured or you just physically can't.
Right.
Like, the next person here, Greg Oden, first former number overall pick, ahead of Kevin Durant in that draft. That was, one of the most interesting NBA drafts in recent history. The debate, do you take Oden or Durant first? Now he's working out for the Miami Heat and New Orleans Pelicans. If I'm him, I'd probably go to the Pelicans, just probably because I get more playing time. Go to the Heat, maybe get a championship or whatnot. But I think it's definitely an interesting story, and I think we both wish him well on his recovery here.
My whole take on this thing, I think that this is a grand scheme of Pat Riley because it's his long-term plan. I think he's hoping to use Oden at some point to replace Bosch, but then at the same time, Oden is good friends with LeBron, so this will almost entice LeBron to stay in Miami.
But, I mean, I think LeBron's going to probably jump ship from Miami.
You think he's going to leave Miami?
I think he's going to leave Miami just because I think he's going to say, I've accomplished all I can here. I think I want him to go back to Cleveland just for that storyline alone. I don't think he's going to be staying in Miami. I think he should, but I don't think he will. And, moving on to here, just another touch on another thing in the NBA. Derrick Rose comes out today in an article, tells a guy on CNN, guy from CNN goes, who's the best player in the NBA right now? Derrick Rose says, me. Derrick Rose is the best player. After not playing for a year, he comes out and says, me. I love the confidence.
I like the enthusiasm.
But I think he's wrong. LeBron James is the best player in the NBA.
It's got to be LeBron. I mean, I guess you can debate it, but for me personally, he's the best athlete in the game right now.
I mean, you can't. If you're coming off and having
You're
not played
coming off
for
a
a
knee
year,
injury alone.
I mean, if I was him, I probably would have said the same thing. Me, just keep the confidence up.
I
But
guess.
I don't think if you're a professional athlete, you go, oh no, this guy over here is better, than me.
True, very true.
But I mean, just looking at it from a fan, you're just like, no, sorry,
stop.
sorry, Rose, you're not the best player here. And lastly, let's just touch on a little NHL talk here. They had a realignment of the divisions. In the East, now they're going to have 8 teams in each, and in the West, they're going to have 7 in each. What are your thoughts on this, realignment here?
To be perfectly honest, I hate the new divisions. I
Okay.
can't stand them for two or three main reasons.
I'll give you one reason. The Metropolitan Division is
Terrible.
the worst division
Terrible.
name I've ever heard of. but
Terrible. That's going to
continue.
entice people to watch? Absolutely not. But my big issue with it, moving Detroit into the East with Boston, you're totally eliminating that huge, huge rivalry of the Blackhawks and Detroit, an original 6 matchup. They completely eliminated it, which is very frustrating as a fan. Secondly, being a Boston Bruins fan and looking ahead at the schedule itself, they ruined another original 6 matchup. The Bruins and Canadiens will only meet twice throughout the entire year. One stop at the Bell Center in Canada, and obviously once in Boston. And that's it. I get the whole alignment trying to be, have a closer proximity to other teams, but you're ruining the NHL, in my opinion. You're ruining great matchups, great hockey games that's ultimately going to bring your fans in. And, how is Florida playing with teams that are in the Northeast? I just don't understand it. Why don't you throw them in the division with the Capitals and Carolina? It's much closer.
The reason that the NHL says that they did this is for travel because, Winnipeg used to be the Atlanta Thrashers based in Atlanta, and now they're obviously in Winnipeg. So they would still in the conference that Atlanta was in, so they would have to travel back, to the East Coast a ton, which, wasn't, sort of advantages for them. But, like you said, the Western Conference, the division Chicago's in the Central. It doesn't make sense. It's Chicago, St. Louis, Nashville, Minnesota, Colorado, and the Dallas Stars and Winnipeg.
Dallas Stars.
I don't really see the point. I can see that the NHL did the best they could, but going forward, I think this will be. I think it will be fun to see new teams.
For sure.
I'm
interested in seeing
your favorite team
the Red
going
Wings
forward.
during the regular season, but I think you're eliminating, the great hockey games that would be taking place throughout the season.
So we'll definitely have to see that going forward. So that's it for another episode here, the 9th episode of Sports Chatter TV. Again, I'm your host, Evan Bedell, alongside my co-host here, Steve Atkinson.
Right.
And don't forget to tune in next week for another Sports Field of the Week here of Sports Chatter TV.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.